A lone wanderer strolls into a lonely town, only to find himself in the midst of two rival gangs fighting over money and total control of the settlement. The lone wanderer attempts to take advantage of this opportunity that lays before him. He tricks both rivaling gangs by helping both sides, ultimately getting caught up in helping a woman get back to her family, which then leads to our anti-hero being caught by the ones he's trying to trick, and non-surprisingly gets the living tar beat out of him. Our anti-hero then is forced to take out the rivaling gang, and he indirectly saves the town from more hardship and turmoil. Of course, the story just doesn't belong to one movie, it belongs to three. Okay, we really don't need to include this one. One takes place in the East, and the other in the West. So, I finally got around to watching Yojimbo, and I loved it. The music and Kurosawa's style of filmmaking was just so terrific. Just watching this movie and the soundtrack. I think this movie was the start of the westerns that we know and love to this day. If you really think about it, without this movie would never have been made. And without this movie, there never would have been this scene. And I am grateful that we have two movies that have the same story. Pretty much a carbon copy of each other. I honestly didn't expect to enjoy this film as much as I did. But in today's video, I wanted to compare the two films. Now, before you go down in the comments telling me that I shouldn't be comparing these two movies, yes, I know, it's a bit unfair to compare these two films. Both of these movies had different styles, and even the way they were directed were completely different. The title and thumbnail for this video is a bit misleading. I do think that Leone's take was better, however I think that it's really interesting the connections between the two films and what they represent. As I stated in the Scene That Created a Legend video, I said Fistful was the movie to revolutionize the Western genre. In Kurosawa's Yojimbo, there are references to the Westerns as a whole represented by the revolver that Yunosuke carries. I feel that it represents the beginning of the end of the samurai, signaling the rise of the Westerns. Then going back to Sergio's Fistful of Dollars, we see the revolution of the Westerns. The thing that I find extremely fascinating is the parallel of the two films. Not only do both of them have the same plot, but they both mark a significant point in cinema history. They each diverge into different paths of film. While Leone went on to make more westerns with This Mysterious Stranger, and then one with Charles Bronson and Henry Fonda, and then one grandeur gangster film, Kurosawa would go on to create 10 more movies that Mifune would usually be a part of. The first comparison that I would actually like to touch on is what the revolver in both Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars represents. Now, I've already mentioned that Yojimbo was the beginning of the end for the Eastern samurai films, and that Fistful was the revolution of westerns as a whole. The revolver is a great vehicle to use for both films. In Yojimbo, the revolver symbolizes evil, or bad. The antagonist, Yunosuke, can feel like he's cheating because he's using a revolver, while the protagonist and the others he's using it against uses the katana, which is supposed to represent virtue, or good. In Fistful of Dollars, Sergio Leone does this as well, but it's a bit weaker in the way he executes it. In Fistful, the rifle represents what the pistol in Yojimbo represents, and the revolver in Fistful represents what the sword in Yojimbo represents. Are you still with me? Okay, good. The problem with Leone's take is that because the movie is a western, both the antagonist and protagonist have guns, so they, in a way, feel like they're on an equal playing field. But in Yojimbo, the odds against Sanjuro are stacked up against him. It's past versus present, old versus new. It's Sanjuro fighting back against the modernity and westward expansion of the new ways of the world. It's Kurosawa telling us, the audience, that a highly disciplined master swordsman is no match for an arrogant jackass with a gun. Now, in my opinion, Fistful of Dollars is the better film. That's not saying that I think that Yojimbo is bad, or that it's a lesser movie because I don't think it's better than Fistful. Despite the similarities, Yojimbo and Fistful are different films. Yes, Sergio pretty much stole the story from Kurosawa, and I think Kurosawa was right to sue Leone. The style of each filmmaker is completely different, and we shouldn't limit ourselves to Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars. Watch Seven Samurai, or The Hidden Fortress. Watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or Once Upon a Time in the West. For me, I just liked Leone's take on the plot better. I liked the music more, and the cinematography. I enjoyed Clint Eastwood's character more than Mifune's Sanjuro. And lastly, I just like Leone's style of filmmaking better. Nothing against Akira Kurosawa. It's simply just a preference. Alright people, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you made it through the end, then give yourself a good old pat on the back. I really appreciate you sticking around till the very end. If you haven't noticed, I've been doing a lot of reaction videos on this channel as of late, and I know it's a lot. I'm going to start cutting back on those for a while, unless, something really sick is coming out. But I have some projects that I'm really excited to release soon. And lastly, thank you so much for the support on this channel recently. It means the world to me. Alright people, that's all for today's video. Remember to follow God, stay hydrated, protect your energy, stay focused, ignore the distractions. Without further ado, peace out, nerds.